I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 432. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. It's so good to talk to you today. And we are, as you probably know, are in the middle of summer almost. And there are so many things that happen to me that go on in the summer. And I like to talk about it because there was a time when I felt around this time kind of hopeless, even though I was celebrating a birthday, my birthday. I was celebrating my anniversary with my husband, Michael. It'll be 46 years this year. And I'll be celebrating Michael's birthday all within 6 weeks. So from my birthday, which is July 31st, to his birthday, which is September 4th, there are a lot of celebrations. And my podcast is dedicated to teaching you how to celebrate in a way where it's 100% celebration. And what I mean by that, there's no downside. For me, the downside every single time, probably from the time I was, a teenager, probably, because I can remember even as a teenager, oh my gosh, there's this memory I have. I don't know, I might have been 15 or 16 years old. And I asked my best friend to bake me these cookies for my birthday because I loved them. Mexican wedding cakes. I still like them. I loved them then. And when she gave me that box, I kid you not, I ate all of them. There was a lot of them. I was 16 years old, and I believed that I could take a break because I was already in the midst of dieting. I could take a break because it was my birthday and eat all the cookies. And for many, many years, up until the time I was more your age, for those of you who are in your 50s, probably from the time I was 16, well, actually, I think it was more like 13, to my mid 50s, that's kind of how I always thought and felt, is that I'm going to take a break from whatever diet I'm on, and I am going to celebrate by eating all the foods that are bad for me, but that I celebrate with because I quote unquote love them and I deserve them because it's a celebration. I know a lot of you are like that. I know it still. I'm not like that anymore. And my podcast, Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond, I dedicate it to all of you who still think like that. And I think it's really important that you celebrate. And I think it's important that you eat foods that you like, that you enjoy. But to do it in a way where you actually mindfully enjoy these foods that have no nutritious value, but you don't abuse them. You don't get weight gain from them. Weight gain is in many ways abuse of food. It's eating when you're not hungry, eating foods that will not fuel you. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you know I'm not. I am all for eating foods that have no nutritious value. I call them joy eats or joy food. And what a joy food is when you eat it bite by bite and stop the minute that you're done. It's a very mindful way of eating a food. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating that food with everything, right? Eating that way with everything. Eat, but when you're fueling and you're thinking about filling up your gas tank or your belly, you're still mindful, but it's not as much the enjoyment factor as it is the full factor. Can you connect with your body when your body says, that's enough, I don't need anymore? That's enough fuel, I don't need anymore. Like, for instance, when you're filling up your gas tank and you're putting gas in there comes a time where if you keep filling, you are going to overfill the gas tank and you are going to have a problem. That's kind of the way your body works. Except if you are anything like me when I was 13, all the way up to mid-50s, I totally disconnected from that and did not know my own hunger and fullness because I was always concentrating on something external to follow, except when there's a celebration. And there's no other time that there were more celebrations than this time of year for me. I know for a lot of you, the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, all of that. I mean, that's a holiday season too of celebrations. All of it you can use to learn how to pay attention to your own body signals and teach yourself how to be mindful with foods that have no nutritious value, but you enjoy. And that is part of the reason why, if you haven't heard, that I'm doing a free masterclass this week, July 8th at 1 o'clock Central. And it's all about learning your signals for eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full and what gets in your way. Now, a lot of times you won't know. Like when you're listening to this, you may not know what gets in your way. You may just say, I'm just always hungry, or I don't know when I'm full, or I don't know when I'm hungry. The purpose of this masterclass is to help specify for you what actually gets in your way so you can do something about it instead of just saying, I don't know. If you've heard this podcast for a while, you know I don't know gets you nowhere. So whenever you say to yourself, I don't know, I don't care what it is, always ask yourself this question, because this is what I ask when I'm coaching people. If you did know, what would be the answer? Now, as soon as you ask yourself that, your brain will start looking for answers. When you tell yourself you don't know, your brain just sits still. Doesn't do anything because you're not asking it to do anything. Now, what I want to talk about today in connection with this masterclass that I'm doing on Thursday is this question to ponder. Because I think that when you talk to yourself in this way, I'm going to give it to you in a minute. But when you ask yourself this question or you have this thought, and the reason I'm giving it to you now around the idea of eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full is because if you think this thought, you will never figure out how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full if you don't know. Here's what I hear from so many of my clients when they first start with me. It's what I see on Facebook and Instagram when I ask the question, can you eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full? And by the way, just so you know, if you didn't know, I am on Facebook and Instagram, Dr. Deb Butler, where I give so many different tips and so many different things to think about. And the one that I'm working on this week is all about, do you know when you're hungry and do you know when you're full? And the answers are all over the place to yes, I've always known, but there are a lot of answers of I'm always hungry. There's always room for dessert. I always want more. And those kind of thoughts, even when you know you're thinking them, if you don't change them, you will fulfill them. So if you think there's always room for dessert, guess what you're going to do? you will be eating dessert all the time because you're telling yourself there's room. Even when physically your body is telling you to stop, your mind comes up with a thought that overrides it. Now, the thing that I'm talking about today, the thought that I want you to think about that I hear so much is this: I'm doing everything and nothing works. And this is those of you who aren't working with me, but this is something I hear a lot from new clients, those of you who are on Instagram and Facebook, those of you who write me emails will ask me, well, what about those of us that think that we're doing everything right and nothing works? Now, I want you to know that that really is just a sentence in your head, and it's a thought that you think about what happens when you get on the scale and what happens when you're eating. And when you believe this thought, and this is a thought that is so common in menopause because metabolism is down, hormones are imbalanced. So the body does, over time, lose weight slower. It is just a fact of what happens as we get older. It doesn't mean you can't lose weight. It just means that it's slower, which means that your appetite is also less. You also, if you're just paying attention to your appetite, you don't want as much food. If you're not paying attention to your appetite, are you hungry? If you're not paying attention to that, are you full? And you could be eating way beyond because of the thoughts that run in your head, like there's always room for dessert, I can't control myself, or I'm doing everything and nothing works. So this is what I want you to be thinking about as we get into the master class. I want you to be thinking about this thought in particular. If you're thinking, I'm doing everything and nothing works, I want you to question that thought, and I want you to think about changing it. Because here's what this thought will do for you. When you think I'm doing everything and nothing works, it will make you feel frustrated. Now, if you're like I was, whenever I had negative emotion, I was sad, I was lonely, I was having urges, I was celebrating and believed I deserved it, I would eat way beyond my own numbers and didn't even know it because I thought that I deserved it. And then I would go on some kind of a diet. And whenever I would go on any kind of a diet as I was younger, I would always lose weight. Come menopause, I tried to do the same thing and my body just didn't act the same. And I know yours doesn't either. But if I was thinking, nothing works, everything I'm doing and nothing works, or I'm doing everything right and nothing works, will only create more of nothing works just by thinking it. When in reality, and I've seen it with so many of my clients, is when they can tweak that thought. Now, it's true. There may be a diet that you're on, and the diet itself, you're not losing weight. That's a possibility. But if you think I'm doing everything and nothing works, it closes up the idea to something else. It closes up the idea to everything I'm talking about, which is, do you know when you're hungry and do you know when you're full? Do you know how to eat a food with no nutritious value, mindfully, bite by bite, and stopping the minute that you're done? Because that's another idea. If you're open to new ideas and new ways of treating your body as you get older, because you don't have that thought, I'm doing the best I can. All of these thoughts are kind of the same rendition. I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything right. I see it so much and it sounds so true and real. And you do believe it when you say it and you think it. It just will stop you from finding anything else. And if you're just listening to this podcast, or you're hearing me for the first time, or you're hearing these concepts for the first time, Or you've heard these concepts many, many times. And maybe you've tried eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. And maybe the scale didn't do what you wanted to do. So you came up with the thought, I'm doing everything and nothing works. What do you do instead when you're frustrated? My guess is you either go back and do what I would do when I was celebrating or anything else, is not pay attention to anything other than all the foods that had no nutritious value that I didn't care about because I was not having to pay attention because I deserved the celebration. It was like zero attention to my body. And that's what I want you to stop. I want you to stop thinking like that, or at least know that if you're thinking like that, you can change the way you think. Now, one of the ways that will make you very excited about coming to this masterclass is if you can start using a thought such as, I may not know the answer now, but I know I can find it. Or, I wonder what's going on in my body that's different. Or, maybe I can try X, Y, and Z. Maybe I can try understanding my own hunger, fullness, and my own hunger, my own ability of how hungry I am and how full I am. I can do that. Now, I hear a lot of people, especially on mini sessions, I'll hear a lot of people say, well, I tried that. And I think that's what happens with a lot of you is you try things, which means you dip your toe in the water. And if something doesn't happen fast, usually weight loss, whatever that number is on how fast that should be, you give it up. You cannot. I repeat, you cannot do that in menopause. Your body requires commitments more than ever. Now listen, your body always deserved your commitments. But I think we kind of took advantage of our younger bodies because we could get away with so much because it was younger and there were more mistakes that we could make without suffering. I think as we get older, that lessens. Now you can look at that as a bad thing or you can look at that as a wondrous thing. I choose wondrous because it's like you have the option to take better care of yourself. You have the option of becoming more connected to yourself. You have the option of making this next half of your life the best part. Now, one of the ways this can become the best part of your life is if you're more connected to why you eat when you're not hungry. Because there are what I call emotional hunger, emotional holes, urges, negative emotion, and all of those I'm going to go into in this master class that I'm doing on Thursday. I'm going to explain all that and I'll coach people so that you can see what I'm talking about because you'll be able to identify it in yourself when you hear it. It could change everything for you. It changed everything for me. And I want this to be the summer that you decide I'm open to finding out what works for my body no matter what. Now, that is a much better thought than I'm doing everything right and nothing works. Now, you may have tried a lot of things, but when you say nothing works, you also have to decide what do you mean by that? Because what I find a lot of women when I talk to them, the nothing works is I did it for 2 weeks and I didn't lose any weight. I did it for 4 weeks and I didn't lose any weight. It's all about the scale. And if the scale doesn't give you what you want, you give up. You can't just give up as you get older. You have to be more committed. You have to decide, I'm going to do whatever it takes, no matter what. I love adding no matter what to whatever thought that you use. Now, I want you to think about those thoughts and join me at my masterclass because it's all about, do you know how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full? The basics. But if you're like I was, I didn't know the answer to that till my mid-50s. You may be the same. I'm here to change it for you. I'm way older than that now, and I'm so happy I learned those concepts when I did. And now I get to teach them. It is my life mission. It is my life purpose. And I do think that when you stop eating your emotions and start figuring out what they are, just like I did, I used to use food all the time for celebrating. As long as I was celebrating, I didn't know what I was not happy about and what I wanted to change, because I could just celebrate with food. I could use food. I could use alcohol, forget about everything. But there were things lurking in the background, nudging me. And if I was filling them with food, I couldn't pay attention to them. So when I learned this, I also learned what I was really hungry for. And I'm doing it right now with you. And I figured it out in my mid-50s after practicing in a career of chiropractic that I also thought I loved until I didn't. But if I kept celebrating and eating, I probably would have stayed in it. But because I stopped doing that, I also got led with my discomfort and my dis-ease over what I was doing. And here I am. I want to do the same for you. So please join me at my masterclass this Thursday. You can go to drdebbutler.com. And when it's doctor, it's drdebbutler.com/join, JOIN. And I'll see you there. I would love to see you there. I would love to coach you. And if I don't coach you, which is just fine, I'll coach somebody who wants to be coached. And I promise you, you will learn something too. And I'll also be teaching some of these simple concepts to help change your brain. I'm doing everything and nothing works if that's you. So before I end this podcast, you know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. For those of you, if this is your first time, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye.
If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.